Hey, good evening, class. This is your student, Christopher Ite, and welcome to my research project. I'm going to be introducing y'all. Um, it's titled A Nation Divided, Political Division in the Early History of America. So this has to do with the earliest political parties in America, which was the Federalists and Anti-Federalists. Um, My project will examine the ratification of the Constitution in 1788 and division caused between the Federalists and Anti Federalists, who would later become known as the Democratic Republicans in 1792 under Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. So, the historiography, when it comes to my project, covers two uh, historiography examples. One, the Whig historiography, because it emphasizes themes of liberty and revolution, which was just after the Revolutionary period, and also Republican synthesis historianism, because it has to do with the early republic. So, before the founding fathers in the constitutional period in the um, early republic, the founding fathers were overwhelmingly focused on the idea of unity, to fight off the British. That was the biggest threat, was the British, and just getting their independence from them. So there wasn't really a focus on political parties or anything of that nature, because the main focus was just unity, and that was George Washington's big thing as well. As a matter of fact, he uh, was against political parties. Um, at the time of the ratification of the Constitution in 1788, you had the Federalists, which were made up of Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and John Adams. Those were the big ones. And they wanted a strong central government based on the Constitution, um, to be the majority rule over everything. So the focus was a strong central government and one major leader. And they wrote the Federalist Papers concerning this desire. The Constitution was supposed to be ratified in 1787, but you had a faction under Thomas Jefferson and Patrick Henry, um, who worried that this idea of a strong national government with a leader that had a lot of power could evolve into a monarchy, a king, like they had just won their independence from Great Britain. And so the anti-federalist faction came about because there was this focus on the greater idea of individual liberties and the principle of states' rights. And this came to form the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. So when the Constitution was ratified in 1788, it had the first 10 amendments known as the Bill of Rights, which was largely formed out of the Articles of Confederation. In addition to my research focusing on the divide between the two parties, I'm also going to talk about George Washington's farewell address and his warning against political parties, which many historians believe was a direct shot at Thomas Jefferson. George Washington's focus was on the unity of the nation, as he felt unity would be the only thing to keep the republic safe against threats. And John Avalon goes over this in his book on Washington's farewell, The Founding Fathers' Warning to Future Generations. In addition, my research will visit the Adams and Jeffersonian presidencies and the correspondences between them. I'll be examining their friendship, their falling out, rivalry, and then their later correspondence, which would bury the hatchet. As they died on the same day, 50 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1826. I'll also be examining the XYZ affair, which led to the Alien and Sedition Acts, further dividing the young republic. And this won Jefferson the presidency hands down in 1800. Um, and the book by Wendell Bird, Criminal Descent, Prosecutions under the Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798, covers this, the XYZ affair and the Alien Sedition Acts. To conclude my research, I will be touching on the scope of freedom that led to the abolitionist movement and created further political divide in the country as more political parties would pop up. The Whigs were one of them in the early to mid 1800s. The Democrats that largely came about under Andrew Jackson in the 1820s, and they were more of the pro-slavery party. And then you have Abraham Lincoln and his anti-slavery party. But to conclude, part of the division, another source is from Charles Pettit, an impartial review of the rise and progress of controversy between the parties, known as the names of Federalists and Republicans. And also on George Washington and Political Parties by Murray Seasongood. He goes over Washington's warning against political parties and why he was so against them. This concludes my discussion post. Hope y'all have a great time writing your research paper.